I've spent years studying how the richest people in the world operate, and I didn't believe what I found until I built my own seven-figure insurance business. The wealthiest individuals in the world never obsess over money, and it's not because they're careless, and it's not because they were born rich. It's because they understand something that poor people never figure out. It's a hidden psychological mechanism that makes money chase them rather than them chasing money. And if you can master this, you may never have to worry about money again. If I told you to stop breathing for 60 seconds, what would happen? Well, at first, you'd probably start panicking, and then you'd fight, and nothing else would matter. Not your job, not your dreams, not your plans. You'd only be thinking about one thing: air. That's how broke people think about money. They obsess over it because they don't have enough. Every single decision revolves around it. So they're always thinking about it. They always talk about it. They always talk about how much they need. They're always talking about how hard it is to get it. Sometimes they talk about how unfair the system is. They're obsessing over their paycheck, their bills, the price of everything. And that's why they stay broke. But the rich, they don't think this way. They don't wake up every morning just thinking about money. They don't waste time talking about how expensive gas is or grocery store prices. And that's why money keeps flowing into them, not just out. If the richest people aren't thinking about money, Steve, what are they thinking about? I'm really glad you asked. They're not thinking about their salaries, not savings, not even investing the way you might think. They focus on one thing: control. Because the people who control assets, businesses, systems, they don't chase money. Money chases them. This is where broke people make the biggest mistake. This is the separator. They think the answer is just to get more money. Or they tell themselves things like, if I just made 10 more grand a month or 10 more grand a year, I'd be set. If I could just hit six figures at my job, I'd be more comfortable. We just won the lottery. All my problems would disappear. That's the biggest lie. Because if making money was the answer, then why the heck do most lottery winners go broke within the first year? Why do celebrities making millions of dollars a year still end up bankrupt? Because broke people don't actually want wealth. They want money. And money alone won't save you, because money disappears. Money gets spent, it gets taxed, it gets inflated away. And if all you do is chase it, you'll never escape the cycle. So the richest people, they figured this out a long time ago. They think differently. If you think about it, they ask different questions. It's all about questions. And when you start thinking like them, everything changes. Let me tell you a story about two guys, same age, same background. Both grew up in middle-class families. Both had decent jobs. The first guy, his name is Mike. Mike did everything right. He worked hard. He saved money. He lived below his means. He always talked about money, how much he was making, how much he was spending, how much he wished he had. The second guy, James is his name. He didn't focus on money at all. Instead, he focused on something entirely different, something Mike had never even thought of. Here's what happens 10 years later. Mike was making $80K a year and saving 10% of his income. James had built a business that paid him even when he wasn't working. They started in the same place. One is stressed, the other is rich. What made the difference? One guy spent his life thinking about money, the other spent his life thinking like the rich. And the rich don't think about money. They think about value, how to create it, how to amplify it, how to bring more of it to the people who need it. See, that's the shift. This is why rich people hardly talk about money. Because once you understand how to create value, money becomes a byproduct every single time. Think about every rich person you know. Elon Musk, he talks about changing the future. Jeff Bezos, he talks about efficiency and scale, right? Warren Buffett, he talks about buying businesses that grow. None of these people talk about money. That's the secret. Rich people focus on assets. Rich people focus on ownership. They focus on scale. Broke people focus on paychecks, savings, and expenses. Mike stayed broke because he thought money was the goal. James got rich because he understood that money follows value. But the question is, how do you actually make that shift? If you want to stay broke forever, keep thinking like a poor person. Keep obsessing over your paycheck. The reality is that's the mindset that traps people in the cycle of just getting by. Poor people, they say things like, I need a better paying job. Rich people say, I need to build something that will pay me forever. The problem isn't that you don't have enough money. That's not the problem. The problem is that you're thinking like someone who will never have enough. So how do you stop thinking like the poor person? First, stop focusing on income and start focusing on assets, because your paycheck will never make you rich. But owning something that increases in value can change everything. Second, stop trading time for money and start creating leverage. If you have to be there to make money, you're trapped. Rich people build systems, they build businesses, they have investments and teams that generate money even while they sleep. Wouldn't that be nice? And third, stop thinking about price. Instead, think about value, value, value. Poor people, they see $10,000 course and say, oh, that's too expensive. Rich people ask, if this can make me $100,000, it's worth it, right? The difference, one sees cost, the other sees an investment. So if you're realizing now that the way you think about money is what's keeping you from it, you're already ahead of 99% of the people that I come in contact with. But the question is this: what are you going to do next? This is the moment where you need to make a choice, where you can keep thinking like a poor person, chasing money, stressing out over paychecks, hoping things get better, or you can shift your mindset and start thinking like the rich and start taking control. So which are you going to choose? If you want to break out of that paycheck to paycheck trap, I can help show you how to do it. Go to www.agentholbrook.com and book a strategy call with me today. I'll look forward to meeting with you.